The Secure Act, which was signed into law in December 2019, is the biggest piece of retirement legislation from the last decade. If you are nearing retirement or already retired, that this will impact you. Hi there, my name is Micciche. I'm the CEO of True North Retirement Advisors, where we specialize in retirement and exit planning for business owners. Okay, so the first major provision of the Secure Act, which I love the acronyms, the Secure Act stands for setting every community up for, I don't even know, for retirement enhancement, something along those lines. But the Secure Act, which was signed into law in December of 2019, one of the main provisions that I actually really like about these new rules around IRAs and 401k accounts is that you no longer have to start taking your required minimum distributions at age 70 and a half. You can start taking them at 72. Let's say you retire at 65. And you are taking money out of your individual accounts, your non-IRA accounts to support your lifestyle and income needs in retirement. Chances are once you retire, but before you take your required minimum distributions, your income's probably going to go down. And that's a big deal because it opens up this new longer window between retirement and the drop of your income and when you have to start taking those required minimum distributions. So it's really important in that window that you look seriously at Roth conversions in your IRA accounts and see if that makes sense for you. Because if it does, if you're able to convert money to a Roth and not pay a boatload in taxes for doing so, which hopefully if your income has gone down, there's more of an opportunity there to do that. But if you're able to do that, then it lowers the total amount that's in your IRA account, and that now shrunk. So on an ongoing basis, when you turn 72 and you have to start taking those required minimum distributions, the mandatory amount is now based on a smaller amount, which means that your taxes on those amounts, because you have to pay taxes on the withdrawals, so you potentially lower the taxes on future withdrawals by not having to start as early and by taking advantage of some other opportunities that exist there. The other thing I like about it is it just offers a lot more flexibility and freedom now that you're not mandated to start taking withdrawals. They extended it another year and a half basically. Okay, the second piece of this Secure Act that I think is going to be pretty wide sweeping is that you can continue to make contributions to your IRA account after age 70 and a half as long as you're still working. So there used to have to stop at age 70 and a half no matter what, even if you're still working. But as we all know, a lot of us can work into our 70s and a lot of people will work into their 70s. And so the beauty of this is that as long as you are still working, you can contribute to an IRA. And the other thing why this is relevant is that it kind of cleaned up the rules around the differences between 401k rules and IRA rules. Because in 401k, if you're still covered by a 401k, you could have continued, you've been able to continue making contributions past age 70 and a half as long as you were still working. But then the rules for the IRA accounts, which is a very similar account type, were different. So it kind of cleaned that up and brought them into cohesion together and made it a lot easier to understand, I think. So as long as you're still working, there's no more age cap on making IRA contributions, which is really, really nice. This is probably the biggest piece of the Secure Act that's going to impact the most people, because if you have a large IRA and you die and you still have money in that large IRA, and let's say it goes to your spouse, and then your spouse withdraws money, and then he or she dies, and there's still a lot of money, then for most people the beneficiary then is their kids. Under the new rules, your children will only have 10 years to fully distribute and cash out the IRA account. Here's the problem with that. Most people end up inheriting money in their peak earning years. So you're probably in your 50s or 60s when you inherit mom or dad's IRA account. The problem with this, especially if you have a large IRA, let's say you inherit that $500,000 IRA, or maybe it's higher than that, you now have 10 years to fully distribute and pay taxes on $500,000. So you're looking at potentially increasing your taxable income by $50,000 a year. So tremendous impact on the taxation and the estate planning piece of it. If you have a large IRA, and I would consider a large IRA basically anything over $500,000, it would be very wise, and even if it's less than this, but it would be very wise to talk to your tax advisor, talk to your estate attorney, because there are strategies, there are things you can do to minimize the tax impact. One of the suggestions and one of the strategies that I read about just today was, let's say you have IRA assets, but then you have these other assets over here. And so one of the strategies might be giving the child with the lower income the IRA assets, because it's not going to impact them as much, and then giving the other child with the higher income the taxable account assets. And there's ways when you work with your tax advisor and your estate attorney to kind of figure out how that all balances out. If you have an existing inherited IRA, don't panic, because these rules, the old inherited rules, which were much more lenient, they allowed you to stretch the distributions over your remaining life in a lot of cases. Those are still in effect if you have an existing inherited IRA. So my understanding is that if the primary account owner of the IRA, they have to have died in January 1st of 2020 or later in order for these new rules to apply. If they passed away last year under the old rules, then you're grandfathered in. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to tune in next time, where I'm gonna dive a little bit deeper into the RMD at age 72 rule and talk about some additional planning strategies that you can take in order to help maximize this new benefit of the Secure Act. So if you are nearing retirement, if you are in your 50s and 60s and getting pretty serious about wanting to plan and make smart decisions for your retirement, be sure to click on the button below where you can subscribe to this channel. I put out new videos about 3 times a month focused on retirement and exit planning, especially for business owners. So thank you so much for watching. My name is Micciche, and I will see you next time.